Welcome to the GTP. My name is Scott, where we talk all things manga. In this video, I'm excited to share with you 6 hot off the press, fresh, new Volume 1 releases from Yen Press and the Eyes Press line. And I gotta say a special thank you to Yen Press / the Eyes Press themselves for wanting to send or willing to send manga to our community to be able to check out. And I'm just going to give you my first impressions of what I think about these series that just were released for the month of May. If you're curious about other things that Yen Press has sent, if you click the eye on the right hand corner, you can check out my other video from last month on some fresh Volume 1 releases that they sent, just to give you an idea if you're looking for some new manga to get into. And I gotta say, out of these 6 titles, there are some solid ones that I'm just so excited to pre-order the second volume right away. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive in with the first one, which is The Kept Man of the Princess Knight. Now, this originally was a light novel, and I gotta say, it has a parental advisory warning and explicit. That is a very, very strong. This is like a Game of Thrones level that we are talking about, with the action, the fantasy, the blood, the gore, and some of those risque scenes that are for HBO only. The reason why it's not on just regular TV, that is the same with this. So it is a very dark, gritty fantasy. I thought for the story it was very interesting as you're following a main character. Remind me of the, so it's wrong to pick up a girl in the dungeon, in the sense that there's this dungeon cavern that people will go down to the other levels, and there's supposed to be this mysterious item, and there's this princess here who, there's an item there that will help her save her kingdom that was completely lost. Now this man here is kind of her bodyguard, but at the same time, he's not the greatest character, and maybe checks out a brothel or two on his free time. Maybe he's a bit of a scumbag. Maybe he is extremely violent. And it's a very dark and gritty city. It is a city full of violence where you never know when you turn who is going to try to attack you and then probably just kill you off. So if that strikes you at all, this may be worth it for you. It was a little too much for me, but I know Game of Thrones is an extremely popular series. I know a lot of people like that, more of a dark, gritty fantasy. This is definitely for that. It's parental discretion advised. I would definitely recommend something like this. Is definitely 18 plus. Okay, next we have Bungo Stray Dogs, the official comic anthology 1. Now this was absolutely phenomenal. I love this. I have Bungo Stray Dogs in my collection. So this here is just a set of short stories from different artists and authors for Bungo Stray Dogs. So if you like Bungo Stray Dogs, my guess is I don't know why you would not want to pick this up. It reminds me of the anthology version that we got with Higurashi a while back. So I love Higurashi. I'm also a fan of Bungo Stray Dogs. We have the Beast, we have Bungo Stray Dogs itself, and the Dead Apple. So I think this is just a nice adding to that collection of just seeing some short stories. It's not necessarily canon, but it's neat seeing these characters in a more playful setting. Has some humorous moments, so it was very, very enjoyable for what it is. So again, if you like Bungo Stray Dogs, this is something that's going to fit right away in your collection following that universe. Up next, I have the Goblin Slayer, A Day in the Life. Now this is a manga taking place of volume 11 of the light novel, or volume 12 of the light novel. I know some of you are saying like, whoa, wait, Scott. If I'm following the Goblin Slayer series, I think they're only up to, the manga is up to, I think, volume 7 of the light novel. So you're like, whoa, what is up with this? Well, this is actually more of a side story, and it takes place with some of the other additional characters of the Goblin Slayer universe. I actually thought it was very well done. Now, it does also have the parental discretion advisory on it. Now, this volume, I didn't really see too much that would make it so it would be parental discretion advisor. There is a little bit of stuff, but nothing too over the top that wouldn't be different from a manga that's rated for teens. But I will say my guess is there are going to be other volumes that this will definitely take place, as some of the Goblin Slayer, the actual story, the parental discretion advice is very strong, and for good reason, especially some of the dark themes, the heavy adult content. Some things that happen in it is very, very dark and gritty. This was more lighthearted. I had some times that I was laughing out loud and following the side characters, and this was very enjoyable. So I don't believe you're gonna lose anything from Goblin Slayer just being able to read the side story. This was very enjoyable. I would recommend this if you like Goblin Slayer. I don't know why you wouldn't want more of this. So especially thinking it is canon, as it's taking volume 12 of the light novel, it's put in here. So I thoroughly much enjoyed it. And again, if you like Goblin Slayer, I think it's no biggie. This is one you're gonna want to pick up. Next is a story I was a little embarrassed. I have never seen the anime and I've heard very good things. I've never have read the manga or the light novel. And what's funny is behind the scenes, at one point I was looking to pick up the original manga for this, but I heard that there were some issues with it and some of the artwork wasn't the best. Well, your criticism has been heard, and we now have a new Sword Art Online Aincrad. I'm sure I'm butchering that. I do apologize. So this is volume 1. They are basically, they kind of rebooted, sort of like how we had the original Hunter x Hunter and then we had the reboot of Hunter x Hunter. They have rebooted Sword Art Online and brought us this new manga form. I thought for the story, which I didn't know anything about, I thought it was incredible. I was completely sucked in. I already want to order the second volume of Sword Art Online. This is one I'm going to start collecting right away, as you're following this main character who's now trapped in this video game. And as his body's still around in real life, as he's trapped in this game, if he dies in the game, you die in real life. So there's real stakes there. It's almost kind of like an isekai, but not just because there's a real world body. But I was very intrigued to see how this character is going to survive. If you like RPGs, I think you're thoroughly going to like Sword Art Online. I love Japanese RPGs when I was growing up as a kid. There's so many just nostalgia factors with that, and I felt some of that when I was reading this. It reminded me a little bit like from Ice Press Overgear. If you like Overgear, and it's a little different story, but has some of the same themes. I mean, this person's definitely, he's not a blacksmith, but I really, really enjoyed Sword Art Online. I'm looking forward to collecting. I love the idea that they decided to reboot a manga, which I don't know how often do you take a manga series and kind of reboot it and start all over. So I really appreciate they do it. I'm very grateful that Yen Press brought this to us. So that's why I think of Sword Art Online. Now, next is a artist manga, and this is Friday After the Atelier. Now, I will say this also has a parental discretion warning advised, and this is very, very strong. I would probably recommend this one to be 18 plus as well. As you're following this artist here who meets this girl, and he ends up discovering that she would be perfect for his portraits and his artistic design. So, and it's a bit of a romantic, I would say it's not a comedy, it's more of a rom-com slice of life a bit, but he ends up sensing that, hey, I would love to be able to paint you. And not only would I like to paint you, but I would like you to be completely naked. And if that's not enough for you, he said, I would like to put dead fish on you, and then I will go ahead and paint you with those dead fish. So what is interesting is as he's painting, there's nothing sexualized in it, with that said. And in fact, they're even eco-friendly, where they will cook the fish afterwards and then they will eat it. So she's sanitary enough that she's clean that we'll just take the dead fish off. I'll now cook them. So not only am I paying you for artwork, but we're also being smart with this fish and just not throw them away. And now I'm taking care of. So, and as we're discovering along the way, he's a bit of a narcissist, all about himself. And slowly she's kind of changing him without him realizing it. And he maybe he's having a little bit of feelings for her. So as an adult, kind of that romantic, but not, I won't say, it's not necessarily comedy, but I thought it was more slice of life. That was good. It was a little hard a bit. Just the idea where he meets up with this girl and, you know, she's down on her luck and he says, hey, would you like to mind if I paint you nude and put fish on you? Sure, why not? I mean, I don't think that will ever happen in real life, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. But yeah, that is Friday After the Atelier. If that is something that's up your alley, if you're looking for a more of a adult artist romance slice of life series, I think that would be something that would be up your alley with this. Last, let's go ahead and talk about a manhwa from the Eyes press line, and this was also phenomenal. I'm already gonna go ahead and pre-order the second volume. This is The Perks of Being an S-Class Heroine. So phenomenal, and I actually had great conversations with my family at the dinner table after reading this. So I've read it, I loved it. My daughter has already, she's 12, she's read it multiple times. Absolutely love this. She's so excited for the second volume as well. And you're following this girl where almost isekai-ish, but in real life she ends up dying, and when she dies, the gods themselves had just gotten kind of bored with just putting people in heaven or hell, and they said, you know what, we're just going to put you now in books that you have read. So this idea with my family, we talked about the dinner tables. Let's say that you died and you had the opportunity to go into a book, but you can't pick what book it is that you go into, but it will be a book that maybe you've read. And so that opened up a lot of fun debates, and most of my kids want to be in Lord of the Rings if they had to. But the other issue with this, and what's interesting is when you go into that world, you don't get to pick the character you're going to be. So instead of being the main hero, she's this side character that's briefly mentioned in the book that she goes into, and it's not a book that she'd want to go into in the first place. So we had some jokes with my kids like, well, what if you did go in Lord of the Rings, but then you're an orc and you don't want to be an orc, but you are? And then we joked around like, well, what if all of a sudden you got hungry for, hobbit flesh? You desire hobbits and you want to eat them, even though you know that's wrong and you want Frodo to win. So it is interesting is just seeing that fall in. Reminds me a little bit of the Omniscient Reader, also on the Aincrad line, which is phenomenal, where she knows a bit of the story on what's going on and she's trying to change the narrative. Also like how Rylena ended up at the Duke's mansion. Phenomenal. Also Yen Press, which I absolutely love. This hits that same ticker. If you love Rylena, you are going to thoroughly enjoy this as well. It's so interesting. And then something that's different in this is that she has a special skill that gives her additional perks. So with that perk, she's gotten really good at cooking. It does also have that fantasy aspect, like solo leveling, where it pops up like this little leveling up bar, and as she gets better at cooking, new recipes pop up that she can purchase and she can use. So it has a little bit of that RPG aspect in that, but very, very good as you're following her along and seeing how she's going to make it in this world that she doesn't want to be in, and starting off as a servant's girl and doesn't want to be a servant's girl. So how does she make her way in and trying to save the day and make it through the story, as she knows in this particular story, then it's one where the main character constantly dies over and over and over again. So she's like, how am I going to even make it in here? So very, very good, very wholesome. I highly recommend. Again, if you like Rylena, which Rylena How It Went to Duke's Mansion is one of my favorite series. It's probably, I want to say in my top 10, but it might be bad, but I love it so much. It's easily in the top 20. Love Rylena so much. It was my #1 series 2 years ago that came out. You are going to absolutely love this if you like that series. So that's all that we got from Yen Press. Again, special thank you to Yen Press being willing to send these titles our way for us to be able to discuss. In the comments below, I'd love to know from you, which of these 6 titles are you the most interested in checking out, or you have checked out yourself, as I believe all of them are now widely available to go ahead and purchase at your friendly neighborhood store or online. So thank you so much. If you'd like to see more content like this, if you've not done so already, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That helps others know about this community that we have built together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.